Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Joining us now is Ojy Okpe with stories trending around the world. Hello, Ojy.
Good morning, Dr. Abati. I was sure you weren't going to introduce me.
Do you know he doesn't say your name like that, something is wrong.
Layla, I've told you, you always have to introduce me.
I do. I get it right.
How are you? How was your weekend?
Very well.
All right.
Thank you.
Let's begin here in Nigeria. The federal government has charged a director of protocol in the Ministry of Power Works and Housing with passport racketeering. Mr. Maikudi Haruna is alleged to have been involved in a case of conspiring to forge the signature of the Minister of Power Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, to obtain an official passport for his friend. Mr. Haruna has appeared before the Federal High Court in Abuja on a 3-count charge brought against him by the Nigerian Immigration Service. He was charged with conspiracy, making false statement, and engaging in forgery. Okay. So this is the story. I mean, I don't understand. I don't know how many people are walking around now with official passports right now. I mean, the infantry to actually forge the signature. I mean, I don't know what he was thinking in the first place. But like you said, I don't know if this has been happening or if this has been going on.
It happens all the time. I mean, if you occupy an important position in government or anywhere else, you know, people peddle influence. They think they can use your position to seek advantage, and oftentimes the motive is to make money. In this particular case, I think the gentleman was said to have collected 250,000.
250,000 naira.
To have given a letter to someone to go and collect, you know, some kind of recommendation letter, and it's a crime. One is that of forgery. 2 is that of deception. 3 is that of impersonation. Because the person clearly, by forging the signature of the minister, was impersonating him. And then, of course, there is criminal, you know, misrepresentation.
Right.
And where such persons are identified, the key thing about the story is that they should be put to trial. You know, when I was in government, it happened to me too, once, and not even once, severally, you know. And I used to call the SSS people to complain, and they would say, look, do you know how many people whose signatures are forged?
Oh my goodness.
You know, once you are in a position of influence, you know, it will happen. But you can be sure that when it becomes an issue, we will look at it. And it did become an issue on one occasion. I was in my office, and an SSS officer just came and said they wanted to see me in the chief of the CSO, Chief Security Officer's office. They took my statement, they took samples of my signature. You know, some gentleman had used my name and forged a letter to get a job. And the matter went to court, and if I recall correctly, the guy was jailed for a month.
Okay.
And his only difference was that what did they expect him to do? He didn't have a job. If he could use anybody's name to get a job, he would do it.
Are you serious?
You know, so it happens all the time, but it's not always that it has a happy ending. What if they use your name and your signature to commit a crime?
And then what
Before you
about
get the opportunity to prove your innocence, you may have been locked up. You may have been there.
What about the people just walking around with their official passports? Like, that's what I don't understand. You already have a diplomatic pass just by having a friend in the ministry, which is such a big deal, I think. I don't think it's...
a huge issue,
do you understand?
No, I don't think diplomatic passports, either the red passport or the blue passport, you know, are issued. You to get a diplomatic passport, I mean, it must emanate.
That's why the NIS is in.
Then that's scandalous.
Exactly.
If people are not entitled to diplomatic passports, are carrying diplomatic passports.
This is the story. This is the story.
It was a diplomatic passport that was forged, not the Nigerian passport.
No, why would you need to?
Shocking.
That's why it's so shocking. Why would you need to forge a signature?
Because imagine someone actually got away with that.
It's so easy to get a national passport. It's not
but that's simple. If you carry a diplomatic passport that you are not entitled to, if you use it, you could be arrested at the airport.
Absolutely.
So it's for the NIS, the Immigration Service, to be more vigilant.
It's great that they have actually put this story out here, and so that people will know this is happening.
No, they should make an example out of such person.
Well, in any case, he's out on bail on 250,000 naira. So that 250,000 naira he collected has been used
to be taken back.
Has been used to bail him out. All right, well, let's head over to the U.S. with the victorious win of the USA Women's League at the World Cup. The U.S. women's team clinched the World Cup trophy yesterday and made history as the highest-scoring team in the history of the Women's World Cup. This season's Women's World Cup was the most popular tournament ever, with over 1 billion people tuning in for the match. following a month-long tournament that drew attention not only for the excellence of the USA's women's team, but also for the team's civil rights and equal pay. On March 8, 28 members of the women's national team sued the U.S. Soccer Federation for a variety of issues, including gender discrimination, wage gap, medical benefits, travel, and training condition. Ahead of the game yesterday, U.S. fans in France showed their support for the fight by chanting equal pay. This is cool.
Equal pay! Equal pay! Equal pay! Equal pay! Equal pay! Equal pay! Equal pay!
Flabbergasting.
If you know the numbers we're talking here, I mean, this year they get paid about what, $3,600 as against, I mean, each player, as against the men's team, who's never even qualified past the
Thank you.
qualified past.
They get about $5,000.
$5,000 they get. I mean, and also I think in 2015 they got about 1.7 million, the women's team, for winning the World Cup. And then the men's team the year before got about $5.4 million or something like that for just 5.1 for just qualifying. I mean,
And how far did they get?
But I think very quickly, let's put it like this. Congratulations to the United States for winning the World Cup second time in 4 years, and particularly to Megan Rapinoe.
Megan is the star.
The leader of the team. And, Ellie Morgan, who is also a star in that team. But the thing is that the performance of the United States at the Women's World Cup this year has been slightly overshadowed by politics.
Yeah.
First, you recall that Megan Rapinoe had said that if they won, she would not go to the
White House.
And she was supported by Morgan and other members of the team. With President Trump saying, go and win first, go and get the job done first. Whether you win or lose, you'll be invited to the United States.
Do you know what he said recently?
To the White House.
Was it not yesterday? He said, I haven't even thought about that. When he was asked whether, I was like, yeah.
After they won.
I think he should still invite them, but the team may decide to.
Well, the invitation is there. It's not about
yes,
that. The invitation is there already.
To make a political statement, And then, of course, the equal pay thing. And you have defined it very well about gender discrimination. And it was interesting to see the entire stadium, buying into that advocacy.
Absolutely.
And we keep saying, sportsmen, athletes, using their platform to make political statements.
Yeah. Right.
However, I think that, Rapinoe and Morgan, they seem to be Democrats because most of the people supporting them are Democrats.
Well, the things they take a stand for as well are also more towards that side as well, especially with gay rights. That's the main thing that she's campaigning for, the LGBTQ community. And I think it's great that they're taking their stance, but the politicization of the World Cup is also a tiny bit worrying. I think it did overshadow, like Dr. rightly said.
Yes. I mean, I was excited to hear that they're winning. The women are getting there. Well, still in the U.S., the First Lady of the United States, Melania Trump, has made a surprise reappearance near her Slovenian hometown of Savinka in the form of a life-size statue emerging from a tree trunk. U.S. artist Brad Downey commissioned the life-size statue of the First Lady from a local chainsaw sculpture called Maxi as part of a documentary of his latest film exhibition. The film follows interviews of Maxi around town of Slovakia while creating an intimate impression of the First Lady's roots in the Alpine country. The statue, however, has drawn mixed reactions from people because of its caricature nature of the First Lady. I mean, I thought that...
Even if it is a parody,
yes,
as has been pointed out in the documentary that has been done around it by Downey.
Yes.
I think here also we're dealing with a little bit of politics.
Of course.
Because, it's a subtle reminder of President Donald Trump.
Yes.
His
anti-immigration
that, even your own wife, is an immigrant and she's from Slovenia.
Absolutely.
She's from Svenica.
I mean, the one picture that they used to do the sculpture was the one picture that she was doing when she was inaugurated as the First Lady. Correct.
And the guy who did the sculpture pointed out that they were born in the same town, the same day, in the same hospital.
Yes.
But he's just a struggling man. And
they have two different
things. They have two different destinies.
Two different destinies. Well, we'll take one final story. Let's head over to South Africa now with some sad news. A South African man who won the chance to be the first Black African in space has died in a motorbike crash before turning his dream into reality. Melania Statue was a part-time DJ and a candidate officer with the South African Air Force. He was nicknamed Afronaut after landing a coveted seat to fly 64 miles into space in 2013 in a competition organized by a US-based space academy. The 30-year-old had beaten a million other entrants from 75 countries to be selected as one of 23 people who will travel on an hour-long suborbital trip on the Lynx Mark II spaceship.
May his soul rest in peace.
Well, thank you very much, Ojy.
Thank you, Ojy.
Thank you very much.